Back with Robert Booker, civil rights leader, also represented this area in the state legislature. What was it like for you in the state legislature?
It was very frustrating because when I was elected in 1966, I think there were only 6 blacks in the legislature there. I was from Knoxville. We had 2 people from Nashville, and I think two people from Memphis. And of course, I had some liberal ideas. I believed in expanding the liquor laws, and we had a lot of hypocrites who got drunk every night who voted against those laws. I thought we ought to have a lottery and stuff like that. They disagreed, but they stayed up gambling all night. So it was a very frustrating experience.
Some things don't change, Bob.
It was a very frustrating experience. So when I had a chance to work for the mayor of Knoxville, I left the legislature after 3 terms.
Mayor Testerman?
Mayor Testerman. I had spent 6 years there. It was a tremendous experience. I met a lot of interesting people. I learned about the networking in politics and how Susan Richardson Williams worked her magic and all of that kind of stuff. But I was happy to get away from Nashville.
And what about your time on council?
Well, I did an interim time on city council. Somebody resigned and I was appointed to take his place. And that was an interesting experience too. I had run for city council before, but I lost. But let me just say it was an interesting time to be on city council. What I really enjoyed doing was being administrative assistant to the mayor, because it gave me a chance to get out into every neighborhood and meet some of everybody. I cut a lot of ribbons and made a lot of speeches for the mayor at banquets and all that, and met Muhammad Ali, gave him the key to the city, and things like that made the job so exciting.
When you talk to young people who are black in this city, which it has about a 17% black population, that's high probably. It's maybe
I think it's a little lower than
12 or 13. And then in the county, single digits. What do you tell young people about growing up and about what's ahead for them?
Well, I don't know what's ahead for them because that's up to them. Mm-hmm. For example, I'm looking forward to the new baseball park. I don't know what the black involvement will be there. I know there will be plenty of jobs for ticket sellers and waiters and people who do jobs like that, but I'm wondering what kind of investment from the black community will be made in operating businesses and things like that. So that's what I can say to young people. Take advantage of what comes your way. Try to be prepared to take advantage. But the mindset today is a little bit different from the one I had growing up, so it's difficult for me sometimes to understand where some young thinking is. So it's difficult to say, John.
So, Bob, I've taught at the law school for many years. I haven't taught there recently, but a number of times I have students of color in my class, and I ask all of my students, where do you plan on practicing? Where do you plan on staying? And almost without fail, the students that are of color, they don't want to stay here. And the biggest reason they say, there's nothing for us in this town. What do you say to that criticism? And what do you think as a community we could do to attract and keep bright, young, diverse populations within Knoxville?
Well, that's hard for me to say. We wrestled with this from the time I was an adult. That's always been the question. I don't know what the answer is. I used to be on a committee at the University of Tennessee. They were trying to do better with their diversity, trying to attract more black students, more faculty people. And we came up with all kinds of answers as to what they should do, and we're still wrestling with that. I was asked a couple of years ago to be on a committee. I said, been there, done that. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of these committees that want to tackle those issues, but I'm not sure we know how. I'm not sure we know the answers. I was in one group of older people talking about black crime in Knoxville, and I said, my goodness, why don't you meet with the student council at Fulton High School and Austin East High School? Ask those young people what they think, what they can do, how they. I said, we're 70, 80 years old. How do we know how to talk about what's happening with these young people? We don't know.
That is
But
so
I
true,
know
yes.
that there are organizations that work with young people, and I'm not sure they know sometimes. I'm not sure they really get at the core of why people love guns. We love guns. This is ingrained in the American psyche. We got to have a gun, and the bigger and badder the gun is, the better we feel about it. I don't know how we change that. In fact, I don't think we can change that.
One of the resources, we only have about a minute left in this community, is the Beck Cultural Center, which you ran for almost a dozen years.
16 years, in fact.
Yeah. If people in our community would like to learn more about the Black experience and Black culture in Knoxville, what would you recommend they do? Visit the Cultural Exchange Center, or what should they read?
Well, I think visiting the Beck Cultural Exchange Center, I'm not sure what they have online because I don't do online stuff. But the Beck Cultural Center is one of the most fabulous institutions one can visit with all of the information there. And I have tried mightily to put everything I know in writing. So all of my writings are there, and I still do a lot of lectures. But indeed, visiting the Beck Center would be an experience to learn about Knoxville's Black community. So I would suggest it highly.
And where can we go to hear you do karaoke and sing?
Well, you can hear me do karaoke on Thursdays at the Skybox on Gay Street, Marie's Old Town Tavern on Fridays on North Central, and at Renee's on Rutledge Pike on Saturday.
This is not a paid advertisement.
This
so
is
very
not
good.
a paid advertisement.
Robert Booker, thank you for your time. We appreciate it, and thank you for your service on so many levels.
My pleasure. I never knew I'd be chomping in this high cotton. I watch you guys on TV, and I'm happy to be with you today.
We're honored.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll be back after this with our talk around.